minority or not a minority. I don't think, I mean, I think it's good that we're having this dialogue now. I think it's good that this is out in the open, and that this is out where we can read and talk about it. What AS has done is certain members of our council have taken leadership in forming a committee on campus life that will bring together at least the Greek community and the SAC community. And we see that as a start to try to get those two communities to talk more to each other. I think that there's been a lot of allegations flying back and forth. And so AS is trying to take a leadership role in that regard. And you can really thank the leadership of certain members of our council for that. In regards to doing more, what our association is going to try to do is support good ideas. And it's difficult to hear good ideas at this time. I mean, it's difficult to parse through all of this information and decide what the best route is to take. And if you have a suggestion for us, we're more than welcome to hear it.
Can I follow up to that? Those are all good points, and yeah, I hope they do have an effect, but I just want to re-emphasize once again, I'm listening to KPBS and I'm reading the Times, New York and LA, they both picked up the story, and various other media outlets, and they're all painting UCSD as not that it has 10 or 20 people that are racist, but that the whole university is racist, that there's a climate of racism, and that's not how it is. That's not true. It's absolutely false, and that's what I think needs to be addressed the most as far as damage control, because if not, then 20 people become the university, and we all know that's completely false.
Can I possibly answer that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, I think one of the problems with our system of news media right now is it jumps on sensationalistic stories. It's very difficult to get a story more sensational than, that a college campus in Southern California is racist. I think that's what you're worrying about, being perpetuated through the news, and it really pisses me off, because I know that's not the way we are. One of the best things that we can do as individuals and students is to write these news organizations and tell them what's really going on. Because I think those will get picked up, those thoughts will be heard in the news, and as an individual, I encourage you to do that. Yeah, thanks for that question.
Thank you.
In the pink letters, this is yours.
I'd like you to please expand a little bit on the 5. You said there were 4 categories for the media groups that you're grouping them into, but you said there are going to be 5 voting people from each. I want to know, one, who that 5th person is going to be, or what the criteria is for picking where that 5th person is coming from. And I'd also like to know what these categories are, and maybe a few examples of the types of or the organizations that you have lumped into these groups.
Sure. So we categorize the media organizations in 4 categories, some more broad than others, admittedly, but those are the 4 best we could come up with. They were news and humor and political, and then kind of entertainment, lifestyle. We picked 1 representative from the first 3 categories, and then 2 representatives from the last category. The reason for 2 representatives from the last category is that category had the largest number of student media organizations qualified under entertainment and lifestyle. To give an example, humor, we categorized BMQ into that category. In news, we categorized the Sixth Sense in that category. In political, we put the Progressive, the Left Coast Post, and the California Review in that category. And then for entertainment lifestyle, there are a lot of orgs in that category. Stand is one. Number 15, Fashion Quarterly. So that's kind of the methodology.
Jonathan in the back.
I feel like a blanket freeze of funding is a little extreme. Why can't we have this committee without the blanket freeze on funding? Because I read The Guardian every day, and I'm glad we have a student newspaper. Why do we have to freeze the student newspaper's funding as well as everybody else's?
Thank you for that question. It really has to do with, how much we want to tolerate the inadequacies of the current system. honestly, we felt that the current system, we'd hit a threshold that we could not tolerate it anymore, and that we needed to fix the system before we continued providing funds from this association. I mean, that's the simple.
I mean, just to kind of bounce off of that, this is obviously the easy decision really here would be to do nothing, ignore the problem, just let things keep going as they were. I mean, other individuals in the past who, when they've seen this kind of problem has popped up, they've tried to make little minor nicks and changes here and there, and nothing really happens, and they just continue to ignore it. Time goes along, nothing happens. And we really wanted to say, no, we're going to make sure that this absolutely is going to be changed. We're going to make sure that literally we recognize this is such a major problem that we need to stop everything before we can move forward. We really do. I understand it's really difficult. I know, actually, I mean, to be fair, I obviously am not a member of a media organization, but I understand that it sucks. It's a sacrifice, but you have to realize there are other people on this campus who are hurting besides you. There's a lot of people hurting on this campus. I mean, you can laugh, but you're laughing at people who are hurting, so it's messed up. But regardless, seriously, no, let me finish. So let me finish. There are a lot of people who are making a lot of sacrifice on this campus, and I'm sorry that it has to hit your desk as well. I don't want it to. I mean, it's not desirable in any way, but it's just a necessity. It really is. If we were to just let things continue to go, just say we'll fix it and let things keep rolling, the same thing will happen that's always happened where things won't get done.
I feel like you can still have your committee though, and still stamp down hard and say we're going to change things, and actually still change things as same as you are now without the funding freeze.
In an ideal world, you're right. In an ideal world, you're absolutely correct. You really are. But we're living in a real world, real world difficulties. Unfortunately, and again, it's not ideal, no way. But the inadequacies really cannot be ignored any longer. It really can't.
Just let everyone know, I've written down a list, so if you raise your hand and I nod at you, I have you written down. I currently have 6 people, and I take down your hands in the order they arise. So look out, if I nod, I have you down, we will get to you. And yeah, so woman in the back in the orange, start t-shirt.
Hi, my name is Amber Ratcliffe. I'm the Vice President of Student Council of ERC, actually. So we talked about this just in our meeting an hour or so ago, and so I'm just passing on some things that some people, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So passing on some things that we mentioned in our own discussions and some of my own thoughts. Talking about moving forward, I know you guys are trying to get ideas for how to frame these guidelines. Make sure you have an answer to the theoretical questions before you write it. Don't write it for our organizations, but write it for your own funding policies. Have a question to, if you're thinking about how popular or how many people actually want this on campus. Most people don't know all of those smaller organizations. They know the MQ, they know the Guardian, they know Sixth Sense maybe, and that's a pretty popular one. But there are some smaller organizations that aren't as widely distributed. So first of all, you can't go off of how many people want it on campus kind of system that might say, people don't want the koala. You can't use that as justification, because then that will hurt those smaller, not as widely distributed publications. So keep that in mind if you look at that kind of system. And also, second of all, are you prepared to answer the question, how offensive is too offensive? Because people on the right could be offended by people who write things on the left, people who write things on the left could be offended by people who write things on the right. And so don't use vague language that then can be interpreted differently by all kinds of different people, because then we're going to be in this over and over and over again.